So I shared a version of this on social media the other day, and I had a lot of people that were very interested in how to make something like this. So in today's video, we're going to learn how to do the reverse applique technique to make one of your sweaters just super cute and ready for the fall. This is a pumpkin, obviously. I will show you exactly how to do this. It's going to take no time at all, and you're going to be like, why have I not done this before? So grab your sewing gear and let's get into it. So for this tutorial, you're going to need a sweater, a sweatshirt, some sort of sweater that you're going to be doing your reverse applique on to make it fancy. In addition to that, you're going to need either an orphan quilt block or a patchwork panel that you want to attach to your boring sweater to make it nice and fancy. Optional is going to be a piece of fleece or a soft material, and I'll show you exactly how we're going to use that. You don't necessarily need it, but I think it adds a little bit of extra to it. The way that we're going to be using the optional piece of fleece is we're going to be putting it on the inside of whatever shape that we're going to make with our patchwork panel. So what you're going to do is take your patchwork panel, and I decided to spray baste mine. You could also quilt it to the piece if you wanted to, but I like spray based. That's just a personal preference. I will link both of these in the description if you want to take a look at either one of those. But what I do is I spray baste my quilted panel or my orphan block to the piece of fleece, and that is going to make it to where on the inside of your sweatshirt it's going to be nice and soft. Now again, this is optional, and I've actually not seen anybody else do it quite like this, but that is just what I thought would make sense so that everything's nice and soft. So now you're going to take your sweater and turn it inside out, and you're going to decide on the shape that you want your applique to be. Now I originally was going to do a heart shape, but I felt like the colors spoke to me, and I went ahead and did a pumpkin shape instead. We're going to take our patchwork panel, and you're going to cut it a little bit closer to size to what the finished panel is going to be. You're going to turn your entire piece upside down. So now we've got our surface where we want to draw what we're going to be making. You're going to go ahead and pin this thing down. Now I used a whole bunch of pins because I do not want my piece to move that much when I start sewing. I learned this the hard way. You can ask me how I learned that is by doing it the more difficult way, by not putting a crap ton of pins. So I would just recommend to pin it very well into place so that nothing moves, because once you start sewing, you're gonna have to really get at this piece and control it. Once you get everything pinned down, you're going to go ahead and draw your shape on the back of your project. Now, I just went to my phone and Googled a pumpkin shape, very basic. All I put in was pumpkin shape, and I found one that I liked. And so I went ahead and took that one and drew it on the back of my panel. So there is my heat erasable pen, and this doesn't really matter about using a heat erasable pen. I just like using it because it's just very convenient. Again, a pen that erases with heat, it just works out well that way. And once you get it drawn, we're going to take this to the sewing machine, and that line that you drew with whatever writing utensil that you've got is going to be the line that you sew on. So let's take it to the machine and get the line sewn. This is going to be one of those projects to where you are really going to want to take your time. This is something I have problems with, I've had problems with it my entire sewing career, but you are going to want to take your time, control the sweatshirt, especially if you have a design that has a lot of curves in it like this one does. You're just going to go and follow that line, whatever shape that you've got, follow the line and sew a straight stitch on that line. Now I'm using a pretty tight stitch. Mine is set at a 2. A 2 or 2.5 is probably going to be better when you want to stitch this line because you don't want any of your stitches to come out. Now at the very end, if you wanted to do like a zigzag stitch just to give it some extra security, you can do that, but a straight stitch should be fine for this because it's not like the front of the sweatshirt is going to be having any stress on it. Once you get to the end, you do a little back stitch. And you can also change your thread to match because whatever thread that you use on this is going to be seen on the front of your sweater. So just be aware of that. But this is what you've got after you sew everything down. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut away this excess material. I'm cutting about 1/4 inch away from my stitches on the outside of where I stitched. And again, this was another part where I went slow because you do not want to cut through the front of your sweater. There's so many instances in this to where you could cut through something if you don't take your time. So please just slow down. Take your time. It will get done and you will love the result. I cannot wait to show y'all what this looks like at the end. When I revealed it, I audibly said to myself, I was like, oh my gosh. But anyway. So cut around your shape and get all of that excess off. And once you get to the end, this is what you're going to have on the inside. Now, this is what the inside of your sweater is going to look like. That's just how it's going to be. Once you get done with that, you're going to turn it right side out. And this is what the front of your sweater looks like. Now, this is where the fun part, and this is where the magic happens. Had to do magic fingers on this. So on your shape, what you're going to do is you're going to be cutting out what you just sewed so that your pattern will come through the hole. But it is very, very important that you just grab the top layer. Do not cut through both layers. I cannot stress that enough. Again, you're just going to start with a small hole and you're just going to cut right around the inside of your stitch line this time around. Now, I did cut pretty close to my stitch line. It was probably about 1/8 of an inch, but you're just going to cut on the inside very carefully and slowly, and you can already see the pattern poking through. It's already looking cool. So yeah, go ahead and cut around the inside of your stitch line. Again, take your time. Don't cut through anything that shouldn't be cut through. And you will slowly start to see your pattern revealed. That was the time in the video when I was recording where I was like, oh my gosh, I love this already. But I just continued around the shape. Yeah, I mean, look at that. It's like not even done. And I'm like, wow. So continue cutting around the inside of your stitch line. And any sort of small details, you can come back and do those at the end. That's what I did, was I just did the main part and then cut the small part. And then that's your sweater. That is your reverse applique sweater. And isn't that one of the coolest things that's ever happened? I mean, I really like how that turned out. I did not think it was going to be that cute, but this is the perfect sweater to take to the ball field, and the inside is nice and soft, so you've got a cozy little thing going on, and any shape will work. I just did a pumpkin because that's what I was feeling, but yeah, you can literally do anything and you can jazz up any sweatshirt. I think it gives just that extra little touch, and it's super duper easy. Thank you all for watching. Let me know if you have any extra questions. I hope that you have fun making these sweaters, and I will see you next time.